Okay, Baruch Hashem, the damage is over, the destruction has ceased, and it's time for joy to begin. So we're going to go straight into lesson Likutey Moharan, Torah, Chaf, Dalet, Gematria, David, with a Yud, like it's spelled sometimes in Tanakh, which is a higher level of David's soul. And we'll see how that's connected to this lesson, B'ezrat Hashem. Amru leim sa'uta de alma heicha. So this is back in the wise men, the sages of Athens. There were 70 sages of Athens. They were considered the wisest men that existed in the world at the time. And that they had a deep reverence for Torah knowledge and for the sages of Torah knowledge. And there was one specific sage whose name was Rabi Yehoshua. And Rabi Yehoshua had a tremendous charif mind. His mind was very, very sharp. And, you know, some people are good at something, some people are good at another thing. It happens to be not only was his mind very, very sharp, he was also a tremendous orator. So because of that, he was able to have conversations with the Greeks in a way that not only would he match their wisdom, but show them flaws in their own wisdom, but he was able to express it, which these are two different things. You know, I remember one time I got into a fight with my wife.
Wouldn't know about that.
And I was just like pouring my guts out. And I could see her, like her eyes start to water up. And she never cries. I cry all the time. She never cries. And I knew like something was different. And she said, "It's not fair how you can express yourself. Like exactly what you feel, you're able to say. I don't know how to do that. And it's really, really hard for me to explain to you why I feel like I feel. I don't have those words to express it." And it gave me like a tremendous, profound appreciation for being able to express yourself. And it's not a given. And you know, when the Torah speaks about the mouth being geula, speech being redemption, it's not something that you always truly appreciate. But when you realize that you could have everything, it's all right there, but you can't express it. So it's almost more painful than if you didn't have all that stuff at all. You know, you could go 99% through the process, but if you can't express it, so what is it? And so for all of us, you know, we might have a muna that's 99%, but we can't express it. We might have feelings of holiness and purity that are rummaging through us somewhere, and it's like 99% there, but we can't express it. And like not being able to express it is like the most painful thing in the world. And this is why Pesach is geula, the mouth that speaks, redemption. Rabbi Nachman said that the Mashiach is going to have to spend his entire life perfecting his speech, which on a very deep level means revealing himself. And every single one of us, every Jew who is like a microcosm of Mashiach, so we have to spend our whole life revealing ourselves. And it's a very difficult, very painful process because it's compared to birth. Right? You could have a baby for 9 months, but only when it actually comes out, you get to enjoy it. And yet, every single step along the way is only what brings it there, and you need every step. Happens to be Rabi Yehoshua was able to express himself. So when he was with the Greeks, they asked him like this, Amru le emseuta de alma heicha. Oy, you're so smart, huh? Show us where the center of the world is. I want to see where the center of the universe is. Show us, you Jew. You're so smart. So much chokhmah you guys have. Zakva le'etzbate. He lifted up his finger. Amr lahu, hacha. There. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine what they're thinking? The 70 sages, they bring this, the vaunted Rabi Yehoshua, the great tzaddik, the great Talmid Chacham, the one who they say is like, even their knowledge doesn't compare to his. And really, it wasn't like they were trying to find answers. They were trying to show that Jews didn't know as much as they thought they did. And that their Torah knowledge was very primitive. And that they were holding at an accelerated level of understanding of existence. And they were still back there. And so he's kind of in a way, he wants to answer them, but he also he's having fun with them. But he means it.
He knows it a little bit. Exactly.
So he means it though. So that's why it's that's a very deep thing that you really have to contemplate. Because when he says there, he means it. And on the other hand,
what does that mean?
On the other hand, it's there's the proof for them. He obviously is doesn't understand astronomy. Because you can't just point somewhere and say that's the center of the universe. You definitely can't if all you believe in is goof, is body. And this was what the Greeks accentuated, was the external, the physical, which to this day is really it's the monument on which science is built. That if you look up what is science, what is it trying to achieve? It's trying to measure that which your 5 physical senses can experience, right? It doesn't even assume to be looking at anything beyond that. It doesn't say that. That's not what its discipline is. And yet we take science and we say, well, do you see? If it's not scientific, it's not real. When at the very foundation of science, it's saying we have no idea what's going on beyond the 5 senses because we can't measure it. But nobody just looks.
If it can't be measured, it doesn't.
If it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. Where science doesn't say. Science doesn't say that.
Or at least it's not fact.
No, it doesn't exist. You can't. It's if you were to speak about it, it's a fairy tale.
Well, even the early what's it called, Greek science, whatever, they still believed in some sort of spiritual Yuli. They were even a little bit better than the current scientists.
Yes, true, but their focus is really on beauty.
Yeah.
The idea of beauty as being the highest ideal, even in wisdom, it's beauty. Where if you look at the 10 Sfirot, you do see that beauty is a very fundamental thing. In fact, much more so than you would think just by looking at beautiful things. But on the other hand, within the actual revelations of truth in the world, it's one of the lowest.
The highest of the lowest.
It's the highest of the lowest, but it's also one of the lowest. It's also very high, but it's also very, I'm saying in relationship to these things, and these things are infinite. And so.
I'm sorry, no, Chagad.
Yeah, Tiferet. Tiferet's beauty. Tiferet's amazing. That's Yaakov Avinu. He represents the perfect harmony of that which is physical, that which is spiritual, right? So it's not that they're totally separate, and that's the reason why the Greeks come from Yafat. Am I saying his name right? Yefet? Yeah, don't say Yefet over here. So I'm just kidding. Beis Yosef. Okay, so he clothed Noach, right? He had 3 sons. 2 of them clothed him in tzitzit when he was naked because they didn't want their dad to be ashamed. One of them, Canaan, was cursed because he didn't, right? And from there came Mitzrayim, and from there came Amalek, right? From there came the coarsest, most lewd, most external examination of reality. But the Greeks actually come from this person who obviously has some tremendous good because he could see that there was something that was really shameful about his dad being naked, someone that they looked up to, and for him to be drunk and now be naked, and they never experienced anything like that. So that good is actually...
there was some inherent good in Yefet.
Yes, and that good is revealed through the Greeks' desire for wisdom and beauty, because wisdom and beauty actually have tremendous value, and they have tremendous sparks of godliness. Okay, but in this case,
they're also known for not being, like you said, being lewd and being.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. So they're like klipat noga.
Wait, what do you mean they're not being lewd?
Greeks.
Weren't they a bit lewd? I mean,
Yeah, of course.
They're nasty.
What?
Terrible. No?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
said they weren't known for being lewd.
They were known.
They weren't like Mitzrayim, where Mitzrayim was considered the most lewd center of civilization, but they were also lewd, because that's what happens when you have parts of something that's true, but then it's attached to something that's not true. So then you're gonna have elements of it that are that keep it going. Those are the sparks of godliness that are bringing life force into that thing, and then you have the lie that it's attached to, right? So in this case, Rabi Yehoshua looks up and he goes, there. Amrle said back to him, make me Amar. Who said that? Who told you that? Where'd you get that information from? Who told you that there is the center of the universe? You know, that was very Jewish of them to ask that, though. What's your source? Name your source, right? They say that nowadays as well. With fake news. Name your source, okay? Amar, he said back to them, Aitu ashlu umoshchu. Bring a measuring rope. Let's measure it. Let's see. I mean, the whole thing is just absurd. The whole conversation is absurd. How big would that measuring rope have to be? And how would they actually go about?
Where were they? Where the
Where do you start and where do you end?
Where's like the outer edges?
But maybe that's the answer. There's no starting point, there's no end. So everywhere's the middle. So we're gonna have to see. I don't know. Just thinking out loud with you guys. So now Rabbi Nachman says like this. By the way, what's happening right now? This is 1803. So this is about 221 years ago. 221 years ago. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov was 38 minus 7 is 31 years old, and it was Shabbos, and his Hasidim came out of nowhere. Usually there was specific times that they came to be with the Rebbe, and in fact Rabbi Nachman was not happy when they came at other times, which are documented. This happens to be a time where he didn't seem to mind, and they caught him in a very, very interesting space, emotional space, and psychological space, and spiritual space, because they came right before Shabbos, and there was a lot of them. It wasn't like some of them. And all of a sudden he starts to say Divrei Torah on Friday night and Shabbos. And he was so filled with hergish, with emotion, and he was so passionate, and he was so on fire as he spoke, that they couldn't understand a word he was saying for the entire lesson. So you're going to say, so how do we get this lesson? Because afterwards, Rav Natan said, what'd you say? And he goes, just give me the pen and paper. And he wrote out everything that he had said. So that's how we have this lesson.
Rav Nachman wrote this?
Yeah, Rav Nachman wrote this is his lashon Rabbeinu Zichronan Levracha. So he had to write it out because nobody understood him that was there. But when they were watching him and listening to him, the experience of seeing a human being like that, to be so enraptured with whatever is going on with him and his connection to God and his own personal life, this meeting place, that he can't even make sense as he's talking because of how much he's filled with passion and fire.
We used to go to social streets by Speed Myers of the Road.
Yeah.
And he would speak Yiddish, and we didn't understand a thing, but at least most of us didn't understand a thing, but we just loved it. He had so much energy, and
Right.
it was worth listening.
Right. I mean, he said that you could, if I showed you how much awe of God that I had, you wouldn't be able to step within however many miles of my house. He said something like that one time. I forget exactly what the language was. Parsangs, he probably said at the time, but anyway, I'm sure it was a sight to behold. Especially Rav Natan had only been by Rabbi Nachman at this point for 1 year, half a year, so for them to be there and see him like that. Not only that, they said that at some point he took a kerchief and he covered his face with it because he knew that he was mamash on fire without any flames, and so he covered his face like Moshe with the mask.
Rib nothing said on the side.
And-
See a little bit in.
And they said that the Hasidim, they were curious, so they wanted to see what was going on behind, and they said whoever got to see behind the kerchief They said they literally saw like his face on fire. This is all brought in Siach Sarfei Kodesh, okay? So anyway, that is the backdrop of this lesson. Good? Nice backdrop, huh? So he says, da, you should know. And I'm sure at this point he's exploding out of his body just from the da, da, you should know. The same way I feel when I read. Sheyesh or, there's a light. Oh. Is there anybody that like can say 3 words and like you're happy the rest of the day? Like I could just hear every now and then know that there's a light, and I'm whatever happened in my life, whatever happened today could have been like the most painful, overwhelming, challenging, and just hear, da, you should know. Something I should know. There's light. Oh Hashem. Shula mala minafshin v'ruchin v'nishmatin. And this light is higher than the level of nefesh, the level of ruach, and the level of neshama, soul. So let me just, a little hakdama here. The Rizal brings down, and this is coming up very much in the Zohar and Tikkuni Zohar, that there are not just levels of the soul, but there are like spiritual forces which are reflections of those levels of soul that exist in the world. So those are called nafshin. So it's not just that you have the lowest of your level, like lowest level of your soul, which is called nefesh, but there are nafshin. There's like little nefeshes.
Of each entity, of you,
of the cosmos, of the world. Like there's nefashim that are
that's what Ruch and Nashon are.
La davka they're in a body.
Yeah. And there's ruchin. There's spiritual force, which is called ruach, which are like,
Like zamer b'shvachim, like
that's what he said.
Chadazim.
V'nishmatin, right? That exist in the world. Okay? So for anybody who's listening, every single soul is comprised of 5 main levels of their soul. You have the lowest level of your soul, which is called nefesh. Nefesh means resting. The Rabi Yehoshua says that the reason it's called resting is because that part of you wants you to be stagnant and inactive. Right? So that's like the klipa version of it. That's the heaviness, that's the laziness, that's the depression, that's all the klipa of the nefesh.
It's the spiritual upside of it.
Right, the spiritual upside of it is that's like that
anchors.
Yeah.
That anchors you down into this world.
It's the blood.
It anchors you down into this world, and what Rabi Yehoshua says is that you can only truly access the soul beyond that klipa, which is your normal state of being, through calming down. Because the word nafash means to rest. So now we see like a tremendous, why is Hippolyte so impactful? Because it allows you to experience your soul. Because it allows you to rest your senses, meaning to get to a state of nafash, to rest, okay? Then you have a level which is above that, which is called ruach. Ruach is like life force, energy, okay? Above that, you have your neshama. Neshama literally means breath. Like it comes from the word neshima, which means breath. Neshama is like consciousness. Okay, your consciousness. That's your soul. That's what soul is. When we say, man, brother, you got soul power.
I never say that.
Yes, you do. You say it all the time. I have it video recorded, and I watch it every night before I go to sleep. No, it's not correct. So, neshama is consciousness. These 3 levels of a person's soul are the 3 conscious levels of your soul. Or theoretically, they could be conscious, which means you can experience them while you're alive in this world. But you have 2 higher levels than that, which are transcending your conscious soul. Meaning, they're super conscious. They exist. They actually are the life force which propels your conscious mind. So in fact, everything that you are experiencing consciously is being funneled in by those higher levels of your own soul, but you are completely unconscious of them. So one of them is called Chaya. Chaya means life. And it's interesting because Chava, right? Chazal explained that her name was only Chava after the Chet. But before the Chet, her name was Chaya. So she mamish represents life, like primordial life.
Like M Kochai.
Yeah, right. Why Chava? Because Chava is cognate in Aramaic to Chiva, which means the Nachash.
Cool.
Which means this is what happened to us through this primordial figure called the Nachash, the snake. As a result of that, now Chava has been damaged, she's been altered, she's been corrupted. And as a result of that, because she's our mother, we all have to now work through the damage of the Nachash that we have gotten as a result of that, okay? So, but she is truly Chaya. Chaya. And in fact, like let's say, Chas v'lila, you have a sick child, right? A lot of times if you go to tzaddikim or mekubalim, they'll tell you to name her Chaya or to or add Chaya to her name, because it represents life before death, right? Was even in the world. I actually had a student in Queens who they named their daughter Serach after Asher's daughter, who was the one who knew Pakod Bakadati, who knew the secret of when what Mashiach would say, what Moshe would say when he would come. And she was the only one who knew. And when she was born not well. And so they went to a Mekubal and they said that you should add the name Chaya. So now her name is Chaya Serach. Right? And they put it first. Because like the first name is a primary name. Like life should come first. Baruch Hashem, she's good. Thank God. So, and then you have a higher level than that, which is called Yechida. Yechida means the unique one. The unique entity. And this highest level of the unique entity, this is the part of you which in Chassidus they call the spark of Mashiach inside every Jew. So if you can imagine, this is an incredible thing. That spark of Mashiach inside all of us is called our Yechida. And if you take all of our Yechidas together, you have Mashiach. So you can imagine what an unbelievable figure this is going to be. Okay? And this level is beyond what we're going to call, let's say, Chaya is the subconscious. So Yechida is superconscious. Okay? It's just not to confuse because I said something a little bit different, but just to make it more understandable, you have three conscious levels of your soul, at least theoretically. You have your subconscious. I know I'm talking about your brain. Not like psychology. I'm talking about the subconscious level of your soul, that part that's informing your conscious soul, except you're not aware of it. And then you have Yechida, which is a super rational, super conscious part of your soul that is infusing the subconscious that you're not even aware of. Amazing, no? There's a lot of things going on. We have no idea what's going on, no?
I'm just thinking if Chaya is like Chava,
Yeah.
so I guess Yechida is like Adam.
You're such a chauvinist. Every single class you have to say something racist, chauvinistic.
Men are.
Listen, you can't just wear a white shirt and black kippah tonight and just think like you're off the hook by saying crazy stuff. You know, it's like it doesn't work like that. We're not, it's about the panimi. It's about the inside. It's about whether you're racist or not. That's what it's about. I never actually looked in the kitchen before, but I just saw your wife smiling. Thank God. Okay, good. That means we're doing good. If they're smiling, that means there's simcha, which is what our whole class tonight's about, okay? We're going to get to simcha in a moment. So like this. So now Rabbi Nachman, now let's bring it back.
Did Rabbeinu use these Lashanas? Or is it like, it's from like the Baal Tanya?
Which?
Chaya and Yechida?
Does he ever use these?
Yeah.
Does he ever use Chaya and Yechida? He uses their cognate when it comes to like the Sfirot, when it comes to the worlds. I can't remember off the top of my head when he refers to Chaya and Yechida. And maybe that's what's implicit right here, because he says, you should know, Sheyesh Or, that there is a light, Shehu Lamala, that's higher than Nefashin, V'ruchin, V'nishmatin, V'hu Or Ein Sof. So remember the last class that we spoke about, God's light is reflected within your soul. And so therefore, this level, which is higher than the 3 levels of your soul that are conscious, which we call chaya, right? So that is chokhmah, right? That's the light of chokhmah. This light of chokhmah, we called last class the Or Ein Sof, the light of the Ein Sof. Whereas the crown of your soul, the keter, the yechida, this unique part, is the Ein Sof itself. So if somehow the Ein Sof itself could be infused within you, which it is, that is the Ein Sof that's within you. So if you think in terms of like, I went to school for social work, so you have microcosms and macrocosms, or microsystems and macrosystems. So what does that mean? It means, like, very simply, you have a neighborhood, you have people that live in a neighborhood, and that neighborhood is really reflective of the larger community. So the larger community is a macro system, and that home in that neighborhood is a microsystem, right? And the microsystem reflects the macro system, and the macro system reflects the microsystem. You with me a little bit? You might be going to higher worlds right now. You could be falling asleep, and anything could be happening right now. Or let's try doing it another way, okay? It says that man is an olam katan, is a small world. And the world is an Adam Gadol, is a big man. So what does that mean? It means that the world is a macro version of man. And man is a micro version of the world. But like exact, bidiuk, not like. Man is to humanity what the world is to existence. So too here, you have 5 levels of your soul. Those 5 levels of your soul are corresponding to the 10 sfirot in their 5 levels, okay? Or the 5 partsufim, the 5 spiritual configurations of those sfirot, okay? So not to get so confused, but this lesson's very, very deep, and so I was in the mood for going a little bit deeper tonight and to transcend our lives and try to experience something deeper, okay? So like this. You have your soul, which is your conscious reality, these 3 levels, nefesh, ruach, neshama. Then you have your chaya, which is your subconscious soul, which if you were to compare it, what is the macro version of your subconscious soul? The macro version is the light of the infinite one. So there's a lot going on in that subconscious soul. It's the light of God. What's higher than that? You have a higher level of your soul than the light of God. It's called Yechida, which is the micro version of the Ein Sof itself. Which means not the light of the Ein Sof, not the revelation of the endless one, but the endless one, period. Because light refers to revelation. When you have light, it means you can start to grasp it, understand it. So what is the Ein Sof? The Ein Sof is that light before it's revealed. Which is why whenever we speak about God in the Zohar, he's called the hidden, concealed one. What is that speaking about? It's speaking about the Ein Sof. It's always hidden and concealed. It's not like if you revealed it, now it's no longer hidden anymore. It's always hidden and concealed. I guess another way of thinking about it is, you know those Russian dolls? So you know how like when you open up a Russian doll, there's another Russian doll in there? And you do that again, there's another Russian doll in there? So if you look at the next Russian doll, you're going to say, this Russian doll that came after is the next stage of this first Russian doll, right? 1 second. It made more sense in my head 5 seconds ago. Let me do another example.
Also, I don't like Russian, so.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
It's a good
It's
thing
good,
you-
good thing
you
you're a little bit
switching.
Russian. I'm sure your parents can be happy about that.
Kidding. We love everybody. Except for all the people I hate.
I love you said we. You couldn't say I. You couldn't even fake the lie. The greater you, the aforementioned you, the infinite I. Okay. Doesn't hate anybody. I happen to hate everybody. I'm gonna hate everybody specifically.
Including his tiny feet, though.
Okay. Yeah, right. So like this. You might need a beer before this one because it's gonna be a little bit trippy, okay? Okay. Okay, I'm walking, right? So when I'm walking like this. Okay? Very white, very unusual type of walk. No, I know you like that. Oh,
Very
that,
comfortable.
yeah, makes me feel more comfortable. Okay?
Swagless.
Swagless. Without swag. Yishar, right? Okay, so now you would say I'm here now. Right? Okay, ready? Stop, watch me. Now I'm here. Right? Nobody would say I'm there anymore.
Agreed.
Unless you took something before you came here, right? Okay.
Which we all did. So
Yes, which now all drinking beers. Okay, so now, but that's only true on one level of reality. That's true on the level of conscious reality of time and space. But that's only one level of reality. Rabbi Nachman said there is no good thing that you do, there is no good desire that you have that's ever lost. But what do you mean? What if I had a good desire and now I killed somebody? So the good desire is gone. I ruined it, I messed it up. But that's only in time and space. But God is above time and space, which means that this still exists. Just like this still exists. Just like this still exists. Just like this exists.
Oh yeah, is it now?
Very good. I think there was a book like that by Eckhart Tolle. Anybody? $15 on Amazon. No, I'm just kidding. I did read that book a lot of times when I was in college. Okay? Pretty much stole everything from Rabbi Nachman. Okay.
Does it also mean like even what I had going for me in the past is still expressed in the present because it's what made me who I am even now.
That's true. There's many levels to this.
For sure.
But I want to bring out one. And that is like this. We're talking now about something that's above consciousness, which means it's above time and space. Rabbi Nachman said when Mashiach comes, he's going to be above time and space. That's the consciousness he's bringing to this world. That's what's going to open everything up for us. Because we only see things in one way.
Which will kind of melt and shatter depression, because if you're, the only reason why we get depressed is because I felt pretty good yesterday, but now I feel like crap.
Right.
So you're no longer in
That
an
place.
hour, 2 days ago when
Right.
you're good.
Right. And you're also only getting depressed because of the very, very limited way we can see.
Yeah.
That limited way we can see is causing us tremendous distress. But that's what gives us free will. Because if we didn't have that limitation, you would be able to see too much. Meaning you would be able to see God too much. And then you wouldn't have a choice anymore. We're here to choose. Okay? So like this. So with that being said, let's take it a step further. Rabbi Nachman says that a father and a son are not two distinct entities, but they're one. They're Av and Ben, Evan, Yisrael, right? Yaakov and Yosef, Chad, the Zohar says, they're one. It says that we, the Jewish people, arose in Hashem's thought, in His machshava. right? It's a very famous midrash. It's referenced all the time in Chassidus and Kabbalah. We arose first in thought before Hashem created us. What does that mean? What does that mean? And like, if it's not literal, or at least not in a way that we can understand, so then why are the sages even teaching us that? So it's one level of this is based on what I'm trying to give over right now, which is that we are now in this world. We are here. But that's only one level of us. There's a part of us that has never left that thought.
That thought referring to that thought.
All of myself.
That when Hashem had a thought about us to create us, we're still there. And yet we're here. So which one is it? The answer is it depends. Are you looking in time and space, or you're looking above it? Is one not true? They're both true. Just at different levels of reality. Okay? Now you wonder, how could Hashem love me no matter what I do? And the answer is because I'm still always His son. And I'm always in that place when He first thought about me and wanted to make me.
Hashem's always, so to speak, looking at us as if Banagid Yechida or whatever's higher than that, Banagid.
He's thinking about us at all these different levels, and he interacts with us differently at those different levels.
But we are pretty much limited to the little
What-
crumbs we can kind of pull away from these different areas.
Right, and what we see here. So, with that being said, now let's take it back to the levels of your soul. You have the conscious levels of your soul, which we'll call every step that I took is now I'm in a different place. That's how we look at life. I was here, but now I'm here. Not that I'm here and I'm also here and I'm also here and I'm also here. That every single step that I've taken in my life is like a snapshot. We don't think about our life like that. We think about wherever I am right now. That's where I am. That got me here. But not that like, boom, that exists forever. Boom, that exists forever. Boom, that exists forever. Boom, right? But the levels of your soul that are above time and space, they are like that. And so if that's the case, if there's a level of your soul which is hidden, it means it's inherently hidden. Because even when it's revealed, it's boom, you're now in a different level of your soul. So it can never be revealed. It's always hidden. What did Rabbi Nachman say? He said that my teachings are so hidden that even when I reveal them, they still remain entirely hidden. What does that mean? What does that mean? So if we go back to the walking exercise, once Rabbi Nachman reveals a lesson, it's now already has moved into a different realm of existence. It's not the lesson as it was in its inception in his mind. So when he's giving over a lesson, that's now like a capsule of the actual lesson. And that we took with us. But it doesn't take away from the fact that what is in his mind's eye, what is causing him to say these things, what he is experiencing, is totally hidden. And so too with Hashem. No matter how high we get in terms of closeness to Him, we just keep shifting the bar up, which means there's always going to be a level for us which is hidden. So even when something becomes revealed, we have just moved the bar up because Hashem is infinite, which is a very trippy thing. It's an amazing thing. And this is part of the reason why when Rabbi Nachman's students brought up the fact that there are Mikubalim who say that there is actually an end to the knowledge of God. Meaning if you know all of Kabbalah, which doesn't just mean what's written in books. Kabbalah means the sod of Torah wisdom. If you could theoretically know all of it, you would know the end of knowledge of God. Whatever that means. And Rabbi Nachman said, that's absurd.
Oh, yeah, that's not
He said, Hashem is infinite. That means that there's always a layer, a level of understanding of Hashem, which will always remain hidden to us, because no matter what you will unravel, you will always find a level which is concealed, which is this dynamic is brought up many times in Likutey Moharan, where Rabbi Nachman speaks about Naseh v'nishma. We will do and we will hear, as a level of, I have experienced something, I've had a revelation of God, that's called Naseh, I've done. V'nishma, and I will understand, which means that I don't yet get it. Therefore it's hidden from me. And you have to continue to reveal nishmas, reveal these levels of concealment, that they become nases for you. But as soon as you get to a new naseh, guess what? You have a new nishma.
But to first do it and then understand it, that's emunah.
Right.
Is that what he says in Chavdal and Tinyana?
Is that what he says in Chavdal and Tinyana?
Maybe regular
Chavdal,
Chavdal.
regular.
We're in Chavdal right now.
Oh, no way.
Yes. So
I totally didn't know that.
So let's see what he says, okay? But the point is like this. We have two levels of our soul that are so high, they're so transcendent, that none of us get to experience it. But they are affecting every element of our life. And this is the secret of the Gemara, which says, or in Masechet Megillah, that a Jew doesn't know, but his mazal knows. In Kabbalah, the mazal is actually referring to the keter of your soul, which is a very deep thing. It's a very interesting thing, because now that you know that when it's speaking about mazal, when it comes to a Jew, or like, let's take it even a step further. We just said in Baruch Hashem, the siyum that we did together, Jews have no mazal. So when you read that, it means that everyone else has some type of natural limit to what they can achieve in this world. Meaning, if nature has dictated that this is what it will be, right, in their lifetime, so that is all it can be. Whereas the Jewish people have no mazal, which means that even if nature has dictated something for us, just like for Avraham Avinu, that it dictated that he could not conceive with a child. But because he has no mazal, he can conceive with a child if he goes beyond mazal. So that's the simple level of understanding. But the Baal Shem Tov says something unbelievable. He says, no. Read it again. The Jewish people have no mazal. The mazal, which is called no, nothing. Ayin. Because when you look at the lashon of that Gemara, it says that there is ayin, no mazal. The Jewish people have no mazal. And the Baal Shem Tov said, no, he's telling you what's the name of our mazal. It's called ayin, nothing. What is nothing? It's referring to keter. Why is keter called nothing? Because it's no thing. It's nothing that I'm able to grasp. It's something which is totally superseding any level of consciousness, subconsciousness. It's no thing. But if you can start to speak about it, it means it's kind of something.
When it falls, it becomes ayin with an ayin.
I don't know what you just said, but I imagine it's coming from the highest places of nothingness. I used to laugh with my students in Queens, and they, a lot of them, they love Kabbalah, but they also have, when we start speaking, that's how we're having a conversation right now, it's just a lot of them have no idea what I'm talking about. And they want to be able to explain to people why they took time out of their week to come to this class. So when they say to them, what did you learn in David's class? What should we tell them? And what they really are asking is, please give me a snapshot of this whole entire class, with one thing that I could just take with me and live with, so I didn't waste my time for the hour. But I would humor them, and I would tell them, if anybody asks you what you learn in these classes, tell them nothing. Tell them you learn nothing. Okay? This is what Rabbi Nachman is trying to teach us. Nothing. And in fact, if you think about the idea that Hashem created yesh, me'ayin, something, from nothing, so now let's take it back to what we're learning about in Kabbalah. that nothing is not really nothing. Nothing is keter. Hashem created the world from keter. So what's yesh? Malchut. Something.
I'm just going there. I'm just gonna push it home anyway, just to stick to it.
Yeah.
But it has nothingness in there, which is this little black piece is keter, like you explained last week. So it's close. The ayin is the eye is the first revelation. It's the first. It's a slight mamashis to the nothingness. Which means absolutely nothing.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you just said nothing. Which
Which
means you're doing great. You're right on the money in this class, thank God. Because if you said something, then it really was nothing. But if you said nothing, that really was something.
Just feeling like a Seinfeld episode.
By the way, there was like a point in Rabbi Nachman's life, the last few years of his life, where when his students would come to him, he would say, I don't know why you guys come to me. I know nothing. And they go, that's exactly why we come to you. Okay. V'hu or Ein Sof. And this level, which is higher than your nefesh and your ruach and your neshama, this is the light of the Ein Sof. This is the light of the endless one. So that's a beautiful thing. It means that, first of all, let me just say one more thing. Because when Chassidus teaches you that you have a nefesh and a ruach and a neshama, you assume that you're experiencing them all the time. But the Rizal actually says that everybody experiences the nefesh of their soul. And if they merit it, they get to experience the ruach of their soul. And if they merit it, they get to experience the neshama of their soul. Which means that most people in the world have only ever experienced their nefesh, if they're lucky. But let's say you get to experience all of your soul. Still above that is called the light of God. This is an amazing thing. I mean, how high that light must be, and how high your soul must be. And even though that the intellect cannot apprehend this light of the Ein Sof, because like we said, it's above consciousness, nevertheless, redifa de machshava lemirdaf abatre. It doesn't stop your mind from chasing after it.
Like it subconsciously knows that there's something to run after.
Of course.
He's like, dude, what do you think I'm doing all day? Running after the light of the Ein Sof that I could never experience. And it's so sweet.
Or I'm just trying to elevate my consciousness.
Just that. It doesn't stop your mind from running after it. Yeah, so exactly what you just said, no. You, on a subconscious level, know that there's this light of the Ein Sof, and you, on a subconscious level, know that that's the only good that's worth pursuing. And so, even though you will move to go get a cookie, your mind is not interested in that. Because your mind knows that there's something called Or Ein Sof.
Like my movement for a cookie is really just a fallen version of that first shuka.
Yes.
It's like I want something. I'm hungry for something. It's something way.
Because you want to forget about your consciousness, your separation. Like you just want to feel unity. So when you eat the cookie, you feel like more removed from that, from being on this earth.
More removed.
You don't feel like you're like stuck in this world, separate from everything.
Depends what type of cookie you're eating.
Yeah.
If it's those grandma cookies.
My grandmother's cookies don't give me that.
So yeah, and at one time I think someone told me that the Rav somebody came to Rav Kivak and he's like something like to the extent that if I remember correctly, I might just be jumbling up in my head like, I really, really do want to be a tzaddik, but I just love food. And he meant it with like the uttermost sincerity, or like he He just like on Shabbat, he knows like how big of a thing eating on Shabbat is, and like he so wants to eat with a higher kavana than just the pleasure of the food. But he said like, but when I try this, the food just tastes too good, and I can't actually like,
Very Ashkenazi.
yeah, I can't and he goes, that's right, the food tastes really good, right? And he said, yeah. He goes, because godliness tastes really good.
Well, that's a good answer.
And he was trying to tell him that thing that tastes so good,
You have to kind of embrace it. You have to like go with it, almost.
you have to know that the ecstasy that you're getting is not coming from food. Food is just physical particles. It's the
In his mind, the mind is food is over here and kedusha is over there.
right. And he doesn't know that thing that's enrapturing him, that pleasure, is the light of God enclosed within the cookie. And every single different type of food is just another revelation of that light. It's a medium for which we can experience it at some conscious level. So you're like, when you see a beautiful sunrise, you're like, oh my gosh. So that's just like one window into the light of Hashem, and it's just a reflection of it. It's one aspect of His beauty, so that we can try to experience it. Or when we have a cookie, and it mamish tastes like unbelievable, and you have like a warm home-baked cookie with milk on a cold whatever, trying to think of a Hallmark movie. So like, what is that taste that tastes so good? It's God. So this is why tzaddikim, when you hear about like Hasidic masters and you hear about them eating food and changing colors, it's because for them, they're well aware of the fact that what tastes so good is God. They're tasting that.
So why are they eating the food for?
So they can taste it.
So it could taste God.
Yeah.
So why can't I do that?
You do.
I mean, why can't I do it all day, every day? Or why can't I get high and taste God and do whatever I want and taste God?
So Rabbi Nachman says
Get to work.
the truth is, Rabbi Nachman says the truth is that if you are able to see and experience that it is Hashem's light in everything, you would be able to simply just do mundane things every day. And you wouldn't have to learn Torah, and you wouldn't have to do this because Hashem's in those things also. But because there's a lot of not that there as well,
Right.
you're very vulnerable to getting stuck in that place and getting held back from that space. Whereas when you learn Torah or when you do mitzvot, you're not in that level of vulnerability. You have like the kedusha without the trappings,
Right.
or the potential trappings. So that's why he says the main part of your day should be in these spiritual things, so that you can experience as much as possible in a healthy, sustainable way, and then take that and then go into these mundane areas. And because you have that strong base, you won't get stuck in the mundanity of life. You will be able to just experience the light that's in there, right? So, but in this case, we're saying that really there's a part of you that always knows that there's the Or Ein Sof, and that part of you is your machshava, okay? And it's chasing after the light of God always. So I want to say one more thing here. If you know the last story that Rabbi Nachman told before he passed away about the 7 beggars. So on the 3rd day, I think it's like my favorite part of all of Sipori Masio, which is saying a lot because it's one of the greatest things that was ever created, and I could live off that thing. And there's a lot of parts that are very meaningful for me, but when it speaks about the heart and the well, and it speaks about this heart that's on one end of existence, and all this heart wants is the well, except that the well is on the other end of existence. And on the one hand, it's killing the heart, how much it wants the well. And on the other hand, it can't stop chasing after it. But if it were ever to actually get to the well, he wouldn't be able to see the well anymore because the well's on top of a mountain.
So that's exactly this.
Oh, tell me more.
Like we want to get to this place that consciousness can't perceive, and then if we would even get there, then we couldn't perceive it. So it's kind of like a catch-22.
Don't you just want to like scream from pain from that? For me, like it's like, wow, like that is exactly what's happening, and it's so painful.
Yeah, but at least for Rabbeinu, who gives
I
access
know,
to
but I'm
get
saying,
there.
but we can't lose this because Rabbi Nachman didn't want to lose sight of what's going on in your life.
Yeah, of
He's
course.
speaking to that in this story about this heart that he's in tremendous pain.
Yeah.
He's in tremendous pain, so that you should know why you're always in this state of angst.
Sure.
But he also says there, it's that fact that he never is able to get to the well, that's what creates time in the day.
But it's like an unbeatable video game. It's like you
No,
just
we
wanna
do get
stop.
to.
Let him say it.
Yeah, say it.
No, it's
Tell me
just-
about this unbeatable video game.
It's like it could be very fun, but like how many times do you want to lose? How many times do you want to?
It depends,
There's no way to win. There is no way to win.
unless
No one-
unless we get through this lesson, maybe he's gonna tell us, because Rabbi Nachman does this a lot. He will set up for you something that like you literally like you're molded to the fact like this is actually impossible. Not to take away your hope, but he's laying out the structure of some very deep reality. He lays it out in such a way that you're literally molded like, oh my gosh, yeah, like that is it's inaccessible. And then he says, Afal Pikain, if you do this, you can actually experience it. So Bezrat Hashem, we're going to get there in a minute. But Ayadei Radifa, because it's through this pursuing of it, that your intellect actually does perceive the light of the Ein Sof in a way of touching but not touching. It's like playing hard to get. It's like, I like it. No, I don't. I'm interested. No, I'm not.
Nothing isn't like that.
It's making him crazy, right? Touching, but not touching. I'm touching, but I'm not touching. So when someone says, hey, creep, stop touching me, you're like, but I'm not touching. But now I am. But now I'm not touching, but I'm not touching. So I'm making light of this, but in fact, the Arizal speaks tremendous amount about this idea of touching but not touching. It's a very, very fundamental concept in Kabbalah.
It's nothing to do with Cheshvan.
I have to go back and see where.
Sorry.
No, no, it could be after.
This sounds like that type of thing.
It's an idea which is very, very deep, and Rabbi Nachman is like kind of putting it in a capsule. But the Rizal has much, much, much Torah on this.
Wow.
This idea of this very high level of existence, that what gives its life is it's chasing after this or Ein Sof. But because it's the light of the Ein Sof, it's always in a level, because it's so close to of it, that it can touch it, and it does.
I mean,
But-
like an engine, like just think of the rotation of an engine literally works this way. It's like the magnet is basically on, off, and that way it encourages it to keep moving. 'Cause
Mm.
you kind of put it on, but turn it off, turn it off. Sounds right.
Yeah. So touching but not touching. Okay? Touching and not touching. Ki be'emet, because in truth, yes, sharla sigoto. It's impossible to perceive the light of the Ein Sof. Ki hu lamala menefesh v'ruach neshama, because it is higher than all the conscious levels of your soul. Good. Nice. You feel good about that? You're satisfied? V'da, but you should know.
Okay, so I'm back in.
But you should know. I think we can understand a little bit now why Rabbi Nachman was bursting out of his body in flames as he was speaking about this, and nobody could understand him. Because even if you did hear these words, you still couldn't understand him. V'da, but you should know. She'iyah sharla sigoto afila b'chinat mati v'lo mati. That it's impossible to perceive it, even at the level of touching but not touching. Ela ayedei asiyat hamitzvot b'simcha. Yidu et Hashem b'simcha, yidu et Hashem b'simcha, ba'ala v'namna. Yidu et Hashem b'simcha, yidu et Hashem b'simcha, ba'ala v'namna. Hashem b'simcha, Yidot Hashem b'simcha, v'ana v'imana. Yidot Hashem b'simcha, Yidot Hashem b'simcha, v'ana v'imana.